In 1857, the American West was ablaze with gold. In the arid Nevada desert, a name rang out like a promise: San Duro. People came by horse, by wooden cart, on red-dusted feet, hoping to trade land for gold. Little did they know that what awaited them was not gold, but sand, and the curse had waited too long. San Duro began as a pile of tents and a few hammers pounding on rocks, but as the days passed, the town swelled like a dream bubble, a hastily built saloon, a blacksmith shop, a brothel, then a church. Everything grew faster than weeds, lacking only one thing: faith. It was said that underground here there was a vein of gold so large that anyone who dug there would find it. Some also said that San Duro was a land that had been abandoned, once cursed by the natives for taking away something sacred. But in the gold rush, who cares about the curse? At night, the sand screams like the dying man. Babies are born with their eyes closed. Horses buck for no reason, and strong men begin to dream of a pair of glowing eyes in the middle of the mine. One day, someone digs up a strange object deep underground, a stone mask that does not belong to any civilization. From there, the dreams spread, the disappearances begin, and the first sandstorms come, without warning. San Duro still thrives, but something is rising under the hot sand, and it does not care about gold. It just wants to wake up. San Duro, the town that grew faster than a rice sprout after the rain. The bars were always packed, the dance floors were loud every night, and the gold mines never slept. Everyone thought, "I will become rich." No one noticed that the dust on their shoes was not ordinary dust, but sand. Sand that had eaten away at this place since before people had lived there. Sand crept into the beds, into the breath, into the eyes when people slept. It did not just cling to the skin, it clung to the dreams. The dreams began to resemble each other. People found themselves standing in the middle of the desert. A voice called them by their real names, then swallowed them. Some sleepwalkers walked out of their houses, shovels still in hand, muttering in a language no one had ever heard. Some nights, people saw a flickering light on the top of the sand dunes where there were no lamps. A child said he had played with a stone friend with no face. Underground, machines began to break down for no reason. Miners swore they heard laughter coming from the cliffs. One digger found a wooden chest buried unusually deep in the geological strata. Inside was a note written in blood: "Let them sleep." Gold was still brought out, traded for wine, women, and guns. People lived as if tomorrow would never come. And maybe tomorrow really would never come. Because that night, something strange happened. The whole town fell silent, not a sound, no wind, no dogs barking, no screams. There was only sand, and someone's footsteps walking across the roof. Then one day, she appeared. No sound of hooves, no dust, no one saw her coming. All they knew was that, at noon, she was there, standing in the middle of the main road, her long gray robe reaching to the ground, her hood covering her face. No one knew who she was. No one dared to ask. Even the gunmen who loved to joke kept quiet. She stood motionless for hours, looking out at the desert, as if waiting for something or someone. In the afternoon she spoke, her voice hoarse like sand in her throat. "The sand will swallow you if you don't leave." People laughed. What did a gold mining town need to fear? Sand. In San Duro, people believed in gold, not in bad omens. But from that night on, every dream changed color. Some people dreamed of her standing at the head of their bed, still in the gray robe, but with bleeding eyes. Others woke up with sand in their mouths, even though the windows were closed. A child disappeared after drawing a picture of a woman melting in the sun. The next day, she was gone. No footprints, no tracks, just a line burned into the sand. They are awake. That night, the wind changed direction. Not strong, not cold, just wrong. A wind from the desert blew back into San Duro, like a long sigh of something that had been asleep for too long. A horse went mad in the middle of the street. It reared, kicked the bar, its eyes were panicked as if it had seen a ghost. Children screamed, adults ran for their guns, but no one dared to point the barrel at the desert. The oil lamps in the houses flickered. Some houses went out. Some houses burned for no reason. And in the sky, a swirl of sand formed silently. No sound, no signal. It kept spinning as if it was examining. No one saw, or pretended not to see. An old blind woman shouted from the corner, "It's opening its eyes! Don't let it see you!" People calmed her down, but the next morning her house burned down. Black ash covered the yard. In the ashes they found a stone hand, twice as long as a human hand, and it was still warm. Everything seemed normal again. The tavern opened. The mine resumed its operations. People laughed again, but less so. They looked at each other more, and when it got dark, no one wanted to go out. The town began to sense something, not in the books, not named, not callable, but it was there, with them, and it began to pay attention. At the Dusty Coin, a party was held to celebrate the discovery of a new vein of gold, deeper, bigger, as bright as the sun running underground. Inside, the piano played like a distorted hymn, glasses clinked like firecrackers, cigar smoke swirled like morning mist over a grave. Everyone was laughing. Everyone was drunk, drunk on gold, drunk on power, drunk on their own illusions. The ragged miners sat with the prostitutes in red velvet, laughing as if they had bought heaven. The mayor spoke. The mine owner waved his hand and promised to share. Some played cards, some danced, some sang, and no one heard the wind calling outside. No one noticed that in the corner of the bar sat a silent figure, the woman in gray. Still in the same old dress, still with eyes as dull as wet sand, but this time she looked straight at each of them. A moment later, the oil lamps in the bar flickered. The piano was out of tune. The wine in the glass tasted metallic. A child passing by suddenly burst into tears for no reason. The woman closed her eyes, then whispered something, but her mouth did not move. And then, the clock struck 12. Each strike was like a nail hammered into an invisible coffin. People clapped. Someone shouted, "For tonight! For Sanduro!" Little did they know it was the last time they would laugh. Outside, the sandstorm was back, bigger this time. But no one left, no one stopped. And in that moment, the town was locked up inside its own arrogance. No one woke up in time. The party was over, the lights were dim, wine spilled on the wooden floor like blood from a wound. And then the wind howled, like the scream of the earth awakened from 100-year sleep. The storm came without warning. It was not the wind, but the fury of buried souls. Sand shot into the wooden walls like claws. Windows shattered, roofs were torn away like rotten paper. People screamed, horses neighed, women cried. Then, nothing more. Sand flooded into every corner. It entered the mouth, the eyes, the lungs, and erased every trace of the name that had ever been carved into this town. Everyone ran. But where to run when the earth itself was betraying them? Someone opened the door and saw nothing but a towering wall of sand. Another stood in the middle of his house and realized it was no longer a house, only sand remained, and a soft laugh in the wind. In the chaos, no one heard the cry. No one knew they were disappearing. A man stood in the middle of the square, holding something in his arms, until the sand settled, leaving only a salt statue bearing his face. Sanduro, the town that once shone like melted gold, was now buried alive in the night. No one was left, only sand, silent as if nothing had ever existed here. And in the distance, in the red desert, the woman in gray walked. Each step disappeared as soon as it touched the ground. The dawn broke as usual. The sun still rose from the desert horizon, red as dried blood. But Sanduro was no more, only sand, stretched, silent. No rooster crowing, no smoke from the stoves, no human footprints. Just a vast desert, as if no one had ever lived here. In the middle of that sea of sand, a few broken roofs protruded, like the last fingers of a sunken hand. A piece of wood, a piece of cloth, a rocking chair swayed in the void, without wind. The sand had swallowed everything, but left enough fragments to torment the memory, if anyone remembered. No bodies, no calls, only absolute absence. No birds flew by, no horses stopped. The map no longer marked Sanduro, as if time itself had turned its face. People from other regions whispered about it, but no one dared to speak out loud. Only the children occasionally told ghost stories about the town eaten alive by sand. Then when they grew up, they forgot. It was as if it had never existed. That night, when all was silent, when the desert was nothing but a white sheet covering sins and dreams, a survivor quietly returned to the sand. He carried nothing but an old hat and a memory that no one believed. No one knew who he was. No one dared to ask. He walked, slowly, until he stood in the place where Sanduro Square used to be. He bent down, putting his ear close to the ground, and he heard, not the wind, not the sound of animals, but a whisper, muffled, distant, as if coming from deep under the dry sand. Those who remain will never leave. He stood up, his face pale. Then he turned and walked away, without looking back, without saying a word. For all his life, he never told anyone about it. Because he knew Sanduro was still alive, not on the map, not in the memory of the world, but under the sand.